takes everything you got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You wanna be where you can see troubles all the same. You wanna be where everybody knows your name. You wanna go where people know people are all the same. You wanna go where everybody knows your name.
Hey everybody, welcome to video number 2 from Ked Kaboom here. I'm Kedrick. Just wanted to welcome all you guys this evening. What a couple of days it's been. A lot of action out there on Twitter with the Super Bowl coming up this weekend. Real excited to catch the show before the game. Unfortunately, I'll be working that night, but at least I'll be able to see and chat some with you early on in the day. This is just a little short video today. I just wanted to do a couple things. One thing I wanted to share, something that came to mind today was, when did the love of this hobby start for me? And it'd be nice to hear some of your stories out there as well. Also, I've added a couple of cards this week to my PC. In all things in life, when stuff happens, I've always been someone who just kind of finds the humor in things. And one of my PCs that I have is just cards that give me a chuckle every now and then. And I found a few that just kind of hit my funny bone this week. As some of you know, a couple days ago I went through a little thing with the weather here, having a car break down on the side of the road at real late the night after working. Basically a little over an hour I was on the side of the road. Everything from flagging people down to making some calls on a phone that, it was kind of going in and out because of the cold. I had all the gear in my car for such a situation, extra clothes, blanket. One thing I didn't have in there were some dry socks of all things. I had gotten my feet wet at work earlier, and it was really getting to me. And it was it was funny because the one thing that comes to mind more than, oh my gosh, am I going to get frostbite or how am I going to get out of this situation, was I thought about all the car jokes I say. And it just made me laugh in the car there. The officer who actually stopped behind me even made the comment, why are you laughing? And, I just told him it was, you got to find humor in everything and such. So I'd say I was bit with that car curse this week. So, yeah, it was just funny. And it made me think of, my funny card collection. So I'm going to show you a couple of them here real quick. Some of these, sometimes I put little sayings on the cards too. And when I get that collection all put together, like I have my 222s and 72s on the back side of the table here, I'll show those all together. But, one card I found this week, I believe it's 2013. I see this and I just think of the saying, "I am Superman," as he's diving into the end zone there. I always thought it was kind of funny. Gave me a little laugh there. And then the other one, I thought about, what goes better with football than a good ice cold beer, as we talk about what is on tap. And I've got my Sam Adams here from the from the Seahawks back in the day. So what a name! What a name! So I've got in front of me here just some cards here. You'll see I've got some Bear Downs Guarding My Bear card collection over here, and also over here I've got some cards. These three on my right here are actually the very first cards I ever got. It, my story began and of course I'm going to show this in football themed way here, is I've got my got some unopened packs of 1992 Stadium Club, and so I just kind of doctored them up to kind of share a little story with you. May 22nd, 1982, I was 10 years old, and my first introduction to the sports cards. This didn't get me necessarily out buying the first cards, but it really was the day that I fell in love with sports. It was an Expos Reds game in Cincinnati, and during that game, I remember liking the Expos uniforms. And the first batter that I really paid attention to was Andre Dawson. And I watched that game, just loved the atmosphere, loved being there. To this day, there's really nothing that beats a live game of any sorts. And so that started my love of, and my personal collection was that of Andre Dawson. I remember coming back a while later. It was about 4 months later. My grandmother actually worked at a dime store in downtown Bluffton, Indiana, where I grew up. And I remember buying my first pack of cards off of her because she was in a favorite section. She ran the candy section of that store a lot. And of course, at that time, the baseball cards were right there with all the other candies from back in the day. And so now these three cards are not the three that I physically had in my hands back in that day. They are actually those cards were thoroughly chewed up over the years and such. So I actually replaced them later on with some same cards, just got them in a little bit better condition. But I remember my first PC was basically these the All-Stars and the Expos as well. And of course, there's Andre Dawson right there. Tim Raines, Steve Rogers. I remember, bringing this up. You guys can see him a little closer here. Gary Carter played on that team. Was it Bob Welch? Learned later, was it Randy Johnson, I believe, was a rookie on that team. So yeah, these are actually three of the very first cards I ever owned. And that was back in 82. 83 roughly is when I bought the cards, I believe, 84 or somewhere around there. And so I continued collecting baseball for quite some time, and it was really about 1983, I think it was. 1983 is when I really started to watch football. And of course, what I seen there was, started watching football. The first team that I PC'd was the Bears. And, we had the Refrigerator Perry, McMahon, Walter Payton back in those days, and really fell in love with those guys. And these three are actually, and that's about the time where I started to learn how to take care of cards as well. So these are actually three cards that I have had since 1983 or 84, I think it was. I don't remember the exact days I bought them, but I know they're back from those days. So, man, these things, I remember these so vivid as a kid. Loved collecting those cards. We got Jim McMahon there. We got Walter Payton. The Fridge. Of course, he's in my other PC of 222-72. Probably the most famous player I have in my collection that wore that number. Sorry about the stadium lighting that's in all these cards here. So yeah, that's where my love started. For my first couple of collections that I had. And then what had happened in 1995, you meet the girl, you start to have a family, and 95, I put the hobby on hold for a little bit. Up till then, I was still collecting mostly football, still Andre Dawson, not so much the Expos, but I just kind of watched his career as he went over to the Cubs. And of course, back in that day, the only thing that was on TV pretty much was the Cubs games. So just kind of fell in love with the Cubs too, as a team, but still following Andre. even to this day, a lot of the cards that I give out at my job when I see kids come in with Cubs hats is I always have a huge collection of Ryan Sandberg cards from back in the day, and some Dawsons, some Tim Raines, and those are ones that I really like to share and pass out to a lot of the kids that come into the restaurant. After that, after these past couple years, I had 4 kids. I've got one out of college, one already working following her dad's footsteps and working in restaurants. My third child is a senior this year, going to be graduating. And my son, the fourth, he is 7th grade. But about, I think it was about a year and a half ago, I decided, it's time to get back into the hobby that I had put on hold for a while. April, I think I wrote it on the card. April 3rd, 2017, I bought a box of Score at Walmart, and that really was the first cards I had purchased since 1995. Quite a long time to put the hobby on the side, but it was important to make sure that the family was taken care of. Next big highlight after that was, I was just going through YouTube, watching different things, skipping through some videos, and I don't remember how I came across it, but September 18th, I watched a Packer Card 87 video. First time I ever seen it. Didn't know really what I was watching. It really took about a minute into the video that I really just started paying attention, and not necessarily been a Packer fan at all. But man, what a video to watch! And I watched Brian just share his passion for mostly it was just Jordy. I believe it was a mail day video that I saw, and someone seen a couple of envelopes sent into him, and I'm like, wow. And I remember seeing cards and saying to myself, when did the heck did the hobby go to this? It had been so long since I had purchased cards since then. So I just kind of kept up. I was watching his videos. I would catch them. I think I watched 7 or 8 of them that day alone. And then it just kind of rekindled that fire a little bit too in me to really go out and go back to find a local card shop, something that would have something different than what you've seen in the Walmart. Because the cards that I was buying there, that box of Score that I bought, kind of was similar to what I had seen in the past. And then he kept talking about these 2 guys, and I remember hearing about the Buck City breaks through him, and I finally, October 4th, I got into my first ever break on BCB. It was a team break, 91. I think I picked the Colts that day. On that break, did not get a single card. And I thought to myself, what the heck was I doing? And then I read on their site about tough breaks and other things. But I also bought into another break that night. It was BCB Divisions 343, and I got my first card, a Kyle Lauletta autographed card. And, I remember getting that a few days later, and I was just like, wow, what a card. And then, let's see, some other highlights that I've gotten, just some of the different cards that I've gotten from the breaks, to actually see them and feel them in your hands and look at them. It's just like, wow, these things are amazing these days. And then, I've always been someone I'm always watching highlights of games and such, and keeping up on players and really loving this game of football all my life. But man, to hold some of those cards and just see and bringing up memories of games and kind of actually knowing some of the games where some of the photos are coming from is kind of cool. Then one of the other big highlights this year, my collections and things is, I do things on spur of the moment, and I decided to take off to visit a Triple Play Sports in Columbus. Had to be there anyway for something I had to pick my daughter up in Dayton anyway. and I got to, for the first time in my life, ripping packs at an LCS. And Minuteman Scott and Minuteman Raquel were there, and man, that was just a great time. So it's going to be times like that I'm looking forward to. Really going to make it a point just to get out there sometimes and meet some of you guys even. Who knows? I'm going to show up. I'll probably show up in Grand Rapids and rip some packs with Mikey sometime here soon. Steve, I don't know how soon I'll get to Reno, Nevada. But who knows? Who knows? I vacation every once in a while out in Vegas, so maybe sometime. All right. So also, I wanted to, as many of you know, I've got my fam back here. All you guys that have been, just people I get to talk to on the breaks. Just share some info every now and then. It's just nice to know a group of people that love this hobby as well. But the most recent one who I've added to my Twitter family is Virginia Raider. And I finally got to put a name on one of my Raider teammates right there. And just give him a shout too. He's a diehard Raider fan. I recently just made a transaction with him. It's nice to find people who are passionate about certain teams and maybe something you have because it's going to go to someone who is going to have it on their shelf. Just love looking at it, not so much someone who's out looking for a dollar. Also, if they haven't arrived yet, some of you fan members out there are going to get or have gotten some packages from me here recently. Yes, I know you didn't ask for it. But something I have been my whole life is a big giver. Trust me, it delights me to send stuff out to you guys that I know you're going to enjoy. May not be the greatest card on the earth or anything, but I just, you will enjoy them. I know you will. I do not ever expect anything from you guys for those. I just wanted to share a little bit about my history with this hobby. It's great to be back in it. It's great to know a lot of people, and on a whim I could just say hey, and I'm going to get a hey back, and we can talk football, or anything else for that matter. So, all right, that's going to be it for this video. I'll be uploading an episode, what's called the worst example of a mail day ever, simply because I've gotten some mail from some of you recently. My breaker box has already been here, and then in an attempt to do a mail video, I did not have the record button on, so everything got opened up and stuff. So it's going to be probably the worst example of a mail day because everything's already opened up. But I am going to share some of those cards with me. All right, good evening, guys. Talk to you soon.